Morning, it's the Tig here again, and I'll come back to you because I've had a few complaints already. Can't believe it, but anyway, I've had complaints, and it's because I haven't covered off much about the sports bikes that I've had. Well, it's early days, and I've yet to do all of that in detail, but I just wanted to give you a brief insight. My thoughts regarding sports bikes and many that I've had. I'm going to go back over the last 30 years. I won't go all the way back to when I had FS1Es, which clearly isn't a sports bike anyway, but nevertheless, in its day, cracking little bike. And my Suzuki X7, I won't go back to that either, although the Suzuki X7, interestingly, is the bike that I passed my test on. And that was taken in a place called Gerrard's Cross, and it was an interesting test because all I recall is that I did 3 laps of a particular block. I had to brake in an emergency stop type scenario when the tester put his arm out, and answer 2 or 3 questions, and he patted me on the back and said, "You've passed." I thought, wow, that's good. Little bit different to today, I think, but that bike, got a bit of history, that bike actually. I passed my test and I was very excited, and it just so happened that my girlfriend at the time lived in Gerrard's Cross, and so I thought, right, I'll go back, I'll boast about the fact that I've passed my test already, and one thing and another. She'll be at home, because it was about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. She'll be at home, and she was, and her mother was there, and her father was there as well. And so I sat down in the lounge and I told them all about the test, and they thought it was fantastic. And her mother suddenly said, Sandy, that was her name, not my name, Sandy, I think you need to start thinking about going on the pill. So I kind of sat there. I thought, what the hell's going on here? So I looked at her mother. Her mother was just looking directly at Sandy, who was sat to my right. And then I looked to the right, and her father was there, and he was just giving me this stare, like I'd done something wrong. And I didn't know what it was. They were right. I mean, you know, their suggestion was correct, and I don't knock them for that. But I did think, I thought, well, why are they getting this idea? And I thought back, and now Sandy was a girl. You, obviously a girl, you only had to touch her knee and she would start moaning. I mean, really significantly moaning. Not in complaint, but I did wonder whether she was getting excited or whether she had brittle bone disease or something, because I couldn't believe the amount of noise that she was making. And it was kind of at that time when a friend of mine called Bob came over. This was a few days later on his bike, and Sandy's friend was there, and Sandy's friend was a couple of years older than me, so she was about 19. Bob was 19. He had a Kawasaki Z650, a red Kawasaki Z650, stunning bike. And we kind of got those 2 girls together, so Sandy's friend, one of my friends, and we got the 2 together, and everything was good for a few weeks. But Bob came to me and he said, he said, I need to speak to you. I need to speak to you about something. I said, right, okay. What's the problem? He said, there's something wrong with, I can't remember the girl's name, but his girlfriend of this girl. And I said, in what way? He said, well, she's got some sort of issue where she's producing breast milk. She's not pregnant, but she's producing breast milk. So I said, right, okay, what's the problem with that? he said, well, I'm getting absolutely soaked. So long story short, there's nothing could be done about that. I'm sure she saw the doctor and eventually got it sorted out. But he ended up splitting with her, and we gave him a nickname, myself and other friends. We gave him a nickname following that. And his nickname, what was his nickname? His nickname, it was Curdle. So, oh, it's funny at the time, and even funnier now when I think back. But his nickname was Curdle, and of course, whenever you introduced him to anybody, particularly girls, they'd always say, "Why is your nickname Curdle?" or ask us why is his nickname Curdle. So we would explain in full, of course, which produced the anti-effects of what he was trying to achieve. So he didn't get many girls after that point, but I'm talking about this, and I should be talking about bikes. It just took me back to the time when I took my test, and it was they were fun days. They were great days. So looking at bikes now, looking at the sports bikes now, and actually sports bikes and women, talking about my ex-girlfriend, sports bikes, there's a lot more women these days we're seeing on bikes, and particularly sports bikes. You know, you must have passed them as you're going along the road, and they're kind of like that with the neck up, and you think, Christ, you're flexible. And you wonder, well, why are they riding like that? Doesn't matter, because the fact is they are, and I think it's a fantastic thing. I genuinely think it's brilliant that more women are starting to ride bikes, because when they're on the back with you, they absolutely bugger up the handling, don't they? So stick with your own bike. I mean, I've got friends, I've had friends in tears, you know, with their wives. I had a mate, Dave, the other day. He came over and he said, look, I'm really upset. Barbara's gone off. She's sodded off on my Fireblade, and I don't know what to do. I said, well, you know, there's no need to get so upset about it. He said, yeah, but who's going to cook me tea? And to be fair, I hadn't considered that fact, but nevertheless, you know, sex equality and all the rest of it, you can't knock it. Which reminds me, actually, just bear with me a second. Have you done that cup of tea yet? Oh, right. Well, get a move on. You know what? I asked for a cup of tea about 10 minutes ago, and she's still cleaning my bike. I can't believe it. I wouldn't mind so much, but the lawn needs mowing as well. So I think, you know, it's getting a little bit unreasonable, but, you know, I'll give her some more time. Hopefully she'll do a decent enough job and everything will be fine. But these girls on bikes, you know, it's good to see them on bikes, and I've been to a fair few bike meets, and I've spoken to a few of them, and you know, they're mostly vegan. I don't know why it is, but obviously averse to a bit of meat, but they're mostly vegan, but very, very nice girls. And like I say, you know, you must have passed a fair few of these over the years, and particularly recent years, when you're on your Sunday ride out. But anyway, I've digressed too much, so let me take a look and let me see what we've got in terms of bikes. Now, right, I did say yesterday that I'd had 43 bikes, I think, in 30 years. The reality is that it's 47 bikes. I missed a few. I missed an SP1, for example, and another ZXR 750. And the SP1 was fantastic. You know, you remember certain rides, you remember certain runs when everything clicks and everything's right. And that bike, uncomfortable though it was absolutely incredible when you were on it. The faster you went, the better it got. Very much like a Ducati 999 and so on. But really, the key starting point was a GPX 600. I think it was a GPX 600 Kawasaki, and that was an okay bike. But I'd been off bikes for a few years, had kids and one thing and another, and I thought, right, okay, time to come back. GPX 600, nice clean example. It seemed okay. I can't really comment. I didn't have anything to relate it to. But then I moved to a ZZR 600, and the ZZR 600 was a kind of race bike of its day, comfortable one at that, and also good for two-up work, and fairly quick, around 100 brake horsepower-ish. Handled okay, a little bit bouncy when you pushed it, but not bad at all. Then where did we go? We had, another ZZR 600, a specific colour scheme, which was white, purple and red, I think it was, and that looked absolutely stunning, to be fair, and they were quite well sought after, and again, a really good bike, not dissimilar to the previous ZZR 600, but a good all-round bike. But then I moved to the ZX7. Now, Kawasaki ZX7s, absolutely superb handling bikes with a front end that just hasn't been beaten, in my opinion. It gave so much feel, so much confidence, and you could really do almost anything with that bike. I say almost anything because I had two of them. I went on a track day with the first one and totaled it. It was the penultimate round, if you like, and we were all racing. There was a group of friends. There were about 8 or 9 of us, all on similar bikes: ZX6s, ZX7s, ZX9s. It was part of the Kawasaki Riders Club in the day, if you can remember that far back in the 90s, sort of 96, I would say. And essentially got the bike. The bike was brilliant all day, to be fair. It was no faster than a ZX6 because of its extra weight, and particularly with me on board. But you got it on its side and it felt so good. But at Croft, there's a start-finish straight. I can't remember the name of the corner, but then there's a long, very fast corner. And it was on that long, very fast corner that I totaled it. I got the bike down on the right hand side, giving it everything that I could, and I heard this noise and I don't remember a thing. And what had happened, the exhaust, it was ground clearance, the exhaust had gone down, it had pushed into the swing arm, lifted the back wheel, and the bike had gone. So, having left the wife in the morning, assuring her that everything would be okay, because actually that was my first track day, that everything would be okay, that I was on my road bike and I wouldn't do anything stupid. Of course, I went and did something really bloody stupid. So, what happened, I had to be checked over, and my elbow, my side and my ankle were like that. And the bruise up my side was unbelievable, all on the right hand side, but there was nothing broken. The bike was quite well broken, but we did look at it, had to rip the remains of the right hand panel off. The nose cone had taken a battering, and the brake lever had snapped in half, the rear brake lever had gone completely, and the peg was kind of bent right up and a little bit missing on the end. And I thought, I can ride this thing back. And I did. I rode it all the way back from Croft up in the northeast to Barnsley, which is where I lived at the time, Barnsley, fantastic place, some nice roads around there, lovely people. Miss it in a lot of ways, and still got friends there now. So fabulous place. But again, I digress. So that was my first ZX7, and I made a complete hash of that. And I then they did the second year of ZX7, they did a black one. And I got this black one, and it looked absolutely fantastic, stunning. So, handled every bit as well, of course, great front end and so on. Didn't take it on track for obvious reasons, and didn't have any problems with it. But decided that a change was due. And what did I do? In '99, I bought an R1, and it was the '99 model R1. So it wasn't the predominantly white one, it was the predominantly red with white. And Jesus, that thing changed my life. It was incredible. The handling was, it wasn't actually as confidence inspiring as the ZX7, but it was more powerful. So you had to be more aware of that power, particularly coming out of corners and so on. Didn't have any traction control and what have you in those days. So that was really good, but it did used to bounce a little bit. And I used to play with the suspension, but I didn't know a lot about it in those days. So I just made the most of it. But roomy, fast, agile, looked absolutely stunning. It moved the game on. Fabulous bike, but didn't quite handle as well. So, in 2001, I think it was, or it might have been 2002, I got my 929, it's a Honda Fireblade 929, because I read all the reports and they said that actually the engine wasn't up to the R1, but it handled better. It handled like it was on rails. It handled like a 600. So I thought, I've got to give this a try, so I tried one. And I ended up buying one. And wow, it really, really handled. Again, I've got a memory of one particular ride that was one of the best through Derbyshire, that was one of the best rides of my life, on that particular bike, on one very sunny, very early morning, around 7 o'clock in the morning. That bike, really, you could take liberties with it. You felt you could do anything with it. It was stunning from a handling point of view, but lacked the character and lacked the outright grunt of the R1. So, what did I do next? I went to the Blade. Oh yeah, this tells a story. Myself and a friend of mine called Mark, we both decided, he got a GSXR 600. We both decided that we were going to look at R1s again, but the next incarnation, so the 2001 model R1. And we got a deal, White's was it, I think at that time? We got a deal, brand new R1s, £5,995. Gave me £5,000 for the Blade, whatever Mark got, and I can't remember, he was very happy with it, for the Suzuki. £5,995 delivered to the door, brand spanking new R1. Incredible how things have changed. However, still a waste of money because I didn't like it. I really missed the handling. In fact, I didn't like it as much as the 98 model R1. I thought that was a better bike. So I then went, what did I do then? I went to Aprilia. I went Italian. Yeah, Aprilia RSV1000 mil. And nice bike, but nothing special. Nothing special. I handled well enough. Lacked mid-range. I mean, for a twin, you expect it to be torquey, have the grunt, pull out corners really fast. It didn't. Well, you had to use the gears. You had to almost ride it like a four-cylinder. And it didn't make an awful lot of sense. But then I started having electronic issues with it. And I thought, no, enough's enough. Don't want that. Haven't had that with my Jap bikes. I'm going to move on. So I got a 929 blade again, but this was one of the last incarnations of it, and it was an American import. It was an Arian blade, bloody stunning looking thing, black, white and red. Still got photographs of it now. Wish I had the bike in the garage, but absolutely fantastic. And going from the Aprilia to that, the engine was just wow. It was like lightning. It was a transformation. I'd forgotten how good that engine was. I think if I'd have gone to an R1, it'd have frightened me silly. But nevertheless, that's what I did, and I kept that a few years. But then I had the underseat R1 in a Kenny Roberts yellow colour. Again, fabulous bike, great handling bike, but quite uncomfortable. Lacking a bit of character, very quick, but you got to rev it more. Didn't have as much torque down low as the early R1s. So that was that R1, and then I went to a 2005 blade, really fantastically effective, but left me quite cold. A little bit like the KTM I spoke about yesterday. It was almost too good. It would do everything so well that you need to be doing silly speeds for it to make any sense. So I thought, right, okay, we'll go for something with some character. And I bought my first Ducati, and that was a Ducati 999. But it was Ducati 999. It was towards the end of the, I can't remember, it was 2003, 2004 bike year run. It only had 120 miles on the clock. The dealer had had it for a short while, got a fantastic deal. And it had, because it was a bit of a special edition, it had Oldings forks, not a shock, but it had the Oldings forks. And I swear blind that was the best handling bike that I've ever had in my life of bikes. It was incredible. The engine was great, had a bit of work done, had a, what was it, fast fit, or not fast fit, something fit, exhaust put on it, and I had it all set up properly. And it was stunning. But I thought I was going to kill myself. So I thought I'll slow down, and I moved to a fairly forgettable BMW K1200. What a departure that was. Very comfortable, great engine, but obviously wouldn't handle anywhere near. But it did slow me down. It did have the desired effect. So I then went back to sports bikes, and I got a Ducati 748. I thought I've never had one of that shape, so I got it was stupidly low miles and it was pristine, and I got that and it was fabulous but lacking power. And then I found a 996, very much in the same vein, fantastic fantastic condition, very, very stupidly low miles, and I really enjoyed that. I had a few little issues with it, but nothing too major. I really enjoyed that. And then I went to the Big Bang Yamaha R1, probably the best engine that's ever been put in a motorbike, in my opinion. Loads of character. It's got the feel of a twin with the power of a four and the reliability of a Japanese bike. So really tricky to beat, I would say. Fabulous black and gold that was. And then I've had a whole number of race bikes since, culminating in a Ducati Panigale 1299S, which was ballistic but hard as nails. A little bit like the Triumph Speed 1200 that I spoke about yesterday. Fabulous bit of kit, a lot of technology. Had the Akrapovics put on it. I had the up map incorporated, which I think was a chip. I can't remember whether it was a chip or it had to be down. No, it had to be downloaded. Fantastic bike, but uncomfortable as hell. Tiny. Should have known. I'm 6'1", 16 stone. You know, I'm not going to get away with something the size of a 125, essentially. So I should have known. And of course, following that was following that was a ZX10R. Fancied a new ZX10R, so I got the ZX10R. So this would have been 2015ish, something like that, in the green race colours, typical Kawasaki colours, looked absolutely fantastic. Left me cold, had absolutely no character whatsoever. But fantastic handling, you know, if you want a track bike, fantastic track bike. But not a lot of character as a road bike. But great engine, nothing wrong with it at all, except it just didn't get me, you know, there, in the heart, which is where bikes need to get you. And then I moved to my first naked, which was the Yamaha MT10. And that really changed my life and my perception of bikes, because, you know, proper bikes were race bikes. And a departure from that seemed like a backward step. But the reality was that bike was fantastic. I looked pretty well. I had to have an upgrade on the rear shock. The forks were fine. I had some different oil put in them, but the forks were fine. But I had, it just needed, a lot of people have swapped springs on those things. Swapped the shocks completely on those things. And you don't need to. You only need a good spring. That's what I did. I took it to my mates at Parkett in Tuxford, who are a great bunch of guys and work hard to get the right results for you. And they put a K-Tech spring on it,